Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Business 360. From markets to policy and everything in between, from Manila and beyond. We cut through the noise to help you navigate risk, adapt to change, and lead with clarity. Let's dive right in. Palace warns that the Philippine peso must not break 60 per US dollar, citing serious economic risks. The government cuts its revenue targets after lowering its economic growth outlook. Peso criticizes the House Secretary General, saying impeachment complaints were ignored, calling for sanctions. SPNEC Energy Corp shares surge 15% after the company moves past the Leviste dispute. The United States announces its exit from the World Health Organization, raising concerns over global health coordination. Donald Trump files a lawsuit against JPMorgan, alleging politically motivated debanking. We start with a local currency. Malacanang says that the Philippine peso remains broadly stable, but warns that a move past 60 pesos to the US dollar would have real economic consequences. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is closely monitoring the currency amid global volatility and profit-taking in the local market. Castro says a weaker peso would raise the cost of servicing government debt as dollar-denominated obligations become more expensive. The palace says that the administration is working to prevent a breach of 60, adding that inflation remains under control and that corrective measures will be implemented if needed. Now, the government cuts its revenue target for this year after lowering its economic growth outlook. Economic managers under the Development Budget Coordination Committee lowered the revenue goal to 4.8 trillion pesos, and they trimmed the GDP target to 5%, from 5% to 6% rather. The Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Bureau of Customs see their collection targets adjusted downward as well. Ateneo de Manila University economist Leonardo Lanzona says that the tax targets are being relaxed to help support investor and consumer confidence amid slower economic momentum. The DVCC says lower tax targets will be offset by higher non-tax revenues, including privatization proceeds, fees, charges, and grants. For business, this signals a government shift towards supporting activity and confidence even as fiscal space becomes tighter. The Bureau of Internal Revenue says that it plans to resume issuing letters of authority within the first quarter as the government moves to boost revenue collection. Finance Secretary Frederick Go says tax audits are necessary to meet the BIR's revised 3.4 trillion peso revenue target this year. The BIR says it will limit the number of letters of authority per taxpayer, digitalize the audit selection process, and implement a revalida system to strengthen accountability and oversight. Customs and non-tax revenue targets are also adjusted, with the Bureau of Customs aiming to collect 1 trillion pesos and non-tax revenues set to rise to 349.9 billion pesos. Now, this means tighter tax enforcement is coming back, but with promises of fewer, more targeted, and more digital audits. The Marcos administration pushes for a credit rating upgrade while reinforcing fiscal discipline and keeping inflation under control. Finance Secretary Frederick Go notes that government measures, including smart spending and lower tariffs on key commodities, helped reduce inflation to 1.7% last year. The Philippines earns credit rating upgrades and affirmations from international agencies, with strong demand for the government's $2.75 billion bond issuance. Go says that the economy is expected to regain momentum in 2026 with a borrowing program to finance a 6.7 trillion peso budget while maintaining fiscal discipline. Now, the Philippines may struggle to meet its renewable energy targets as grid constraints continue to limit new projects. S&P Global says permitting challenges and infrastructure gaps are slowing the development of green energy projects across the country. Vince Heo, Director for Asia-Pacific Power and Renewables Research, says renewable energy may reach only 27% of the power mix in the next 4 years and 50% by 2050, both below the government's targets. He adds that high financing costs, limited grid capacity, and continued reliance on coal and gas are holding back solar, and other renewable projects. Energy experts say that the government must scale up support for community-based and distributed renewable energy projects to close the gap and strengthen the grid, and obviously to attract more foreign investments. Now, this means energy costs and supply risks could remain a concern unless grid and permitting bottlenecks are addressed. Analysts expect modest growth in the Philippine-listed gaming and casino sector this year, driven by online gaming and steady mass market play at physical casinos. Mark Karunungan of FYAP Securities says online gaming remains the main growth driver, while physical casinos deliver stable but moderate returns supported by mass market play and non-gaming revenues. He warns that regulatory challenges, rising operating costs, and uneven market conditions could affect performance across operators. Analysts add that tourism recovery, digitalization, and more diversified revenue streams will support sector growth. They say mass market and premium mass segments are expected to outperform high roller play. Now, for investors, this points to steady, non-spectacular gains, with performance depending on cost control, digital strategy, and exposure to the mass market segment. Now, the Philippine Economic Zone Authority opens the country's first government-led artificial intelligence tech academy in Mandawi City, Cebu. The academy offers training in artificial intelligence, data science, fintech, blockchain, and other emerging technologies, with a focus on skills aligned with industry demand. Peso says that the program is designed to build talent for smart manufacturing, advanced services, and the modernization of economic zones nationwide. Enrollment is free for workers employed by Peso registered locators. The program will be rolled out nationwide through partnerships with tech education groups, universities, and local governments. Peso says that the initiative supports the Philippine AI strategy and promotes responsible and ethical use of artificial intelligence. This signals a stronger push to build a deeper talent pool as companies move toward automation, digitalization, and higher value operations. Now, questions over accountability at the House of Representatives take center stage as House Secretary General Cheloy Garafil faces growing criticism after her office refused to accept impeachment complaints against President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. On BNC's On Point, lawyer Ferdinand Topacio argues the Secretary General should face sanctions, saying physical presence is not required for the House to receive impeachment complaints.
Because this practice has to stop. It happened with the Makabayan bloc. It happened with Duterte Youth last year, where they also refused to accept it. And what is happening is that they only accept the impeachment complaints that they want. And those that they do not want, they find one reason or another to reject it or refuse to accept it outright.
Topacio also claims their complaint is stronger than the earlier filing by Andre De Jesus, citing statements from Congressman Toby Tiangco that the president had knowledge of the alleged corruption. Other petitioners echo the criticism, saying the Secretary General's role is ministerial and carries no discretion. They add that they plan to refile the complaint next week. The issue reinforces a key risk factor: how political processes are handled directly shapes confidence, policy focus, and the pace of government decision-making at a time when firms are looking for stability, execution, and a clear economic agenda. Now, investor confidence and political stability go hand in hand, and today both are under pressure as impeachment talks test the country's institutions and credibility. On BNC's Abogado, Kabataan Party List Representative Rene Co says the current impeachment complaint against the president is weak and incomplete, arguing that it must be comprehensive and well substantiated to avoid legal pitfalls.
The whole point of last year is that there have been publicly available documents, policies reflected in government records that could be used. All of that, all of these records, that evidence, and even yung reference to them is not in that complaint. And that's why kami din, sa Makabayan block, we raised the flag that an impeachment complaint has to be comprehensive, and if it doesn't, we risk triggering that one-year bar rule, and we can see what happened in past administrations. Yung quote-unquote tactics ni Lozano, as mas kilala sila, wherein a defective or a weak complaint is used to trigger the one-year bar rule.
Former Integrated Bar of the Philippines National President, Attorney Domingo Cayosa, urges both lawmakers and the public to file responsibly, stressing that impeachment must be grounded in evidence and proper substantiation, not political intent.
There's still a window of opportunity for those who are minded, who think they have a better crafted impeachment complaint, more evidence, to file their own impeachment complaint, and hopefully the Committee on Justice or Congress will decide to consolidate everything into one viable impeachment complaint. So that, to me, is a way out of this danger of having a weak impeachment complaint trigger the one-year ban. So it's a challenge to the lawmakers and to any citizen out there who might have the evidence and the courage to come forward. But whether it's the Congress or anyone, it's the duty is for the complainant to substantiate.
The Philippine government now faces a crisis of credibility, with transparency and accountability seen as critical to restoring trust and sustaining long-term economic growth. Now, as global investors weigh risks and governance more closely than ever, accountability and good governance are emerging as key drivers in strengthening Philippine-European economic ties. The Philippines continues to face a crisis of credibility, long seen as a challenge in attracting and retaining European investors. European Union Ambassador to the Philippines, Massimo Santoro, expresses optimism and support for ongoing Philippine reforms, saying stronger accountability helps restore investor confidence and improve market predictability. Trade ties with the European Union are gaining momentum, reflected in higher GSP utilization, a sustained trade surplus, and growing two-way investments. Now, our economy is still growing, but we've lost some momentum. Inflation is contained, but business confidence has been shaky. And for many companies, it's getting harder to make decisions. After months of negative headlines, businesses are looking for clear signs of what's to come next. One of those signals, a major trade move. The Philippines has just signed its first free trade agreement with a Gulf state, opening new markets and opportunities for exporters, service providers, and investors. The big question now for business is, can deals like this help put the focus back on growth, execution, and jobs, and how fast can they do it? Joining us now is Cristina Roque, the Secretary of Trade and Industry. Secretary Roque, thank you for being here with us this morning.
Yeah, hi Maiki. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Let's talk about the big picture first. Growth has softened amid the corruption fallout naturally. Revenue targets are revised lower. Your department talks to businesses on the ground in the regional and provincial offices. What's the mood? What are they saying now?
Actually, despite and in spite of the challenges that we have or that we're facing now, we still remain positive because our numbers last year were much better than the numbers the previous year. So we did very well for 2025. Actually, for PESA, our exports are up.
Yeah.
And then for PESA, our FDIs are up. For BOI, we went slightly down a bit, but very, very minimal, less than 5%. And then our exports are up. Inflation rates are also down. So we really have a positive, actually, we really did well last year.
That's the way to look at it.
And then for the MSMEs, we have also improved a lot. They have grown by like 200% based on the trade shows that we've mounted nationwide. So we're still on a positive note, and we just follow the mandate of our president to still continue to do our job as best as we can.
Okay. 2.5 years left for this administration. What are the priorities of the DTI? And also, what are your biggest challenges across your three core pillars? That's to bring in investments, consumer protection and fair trade, and MSME development. What are your top priorities and the biggest challenges?
Yeah, okay. The DTI's mandate actually just is those three. So foreign trade and international investment, that one, we really take that seriously because for one, it brings in income, big income to our country, and it also brings in bulk jobs. So we really are very serious in that. So we really do a lot of trade missions. We also have a lot of meetings during the presidential visits, and the president himself meets with all of these potential companies. When we meet with the companies, these are companies that already want to enter the Philippines. So those are the meetings that we do and we take very seriously. Number two is the consumer protection and fair trade. We protect the consumers from the goods that are being sold in the market, and we also control the prices of basic necessities and prime commodities. So we make sure that the people have prices that are low and that are affordable. And the last is MSME development. MSME comprises 99.5% of the business establishment in the Philippines and 60% of the labor force. So that is a sector we cannot ignore. 40% of the GDP is also MSMEs. And if an MSME grows, then the country grows quickly, and the jobs that they can provide is also very quick. And a lot of our tycoons have come from that sector.
Yeah.
So that is a sector na tinututukan po ng DTI. And that's what we take also very seriously.
Yeah, and no one knows that better than you, having founded Camiseta in the 1990s. Okay, but moving on, let's talk about trade. You just inked the free trade agreement with a Gulf state. Our first one of that kind. It was the Comprehensive Economic Partnership with the United Arab Emirates. Why is this a big deal for our economy right now, Secretary Roque?
Very important sa atin ang UAE. No? The Gulf is very important because first, we have a lot of Filipinos that are there, and that is also an emerging market for us. So that's a win for the Philippines, the signing of the CEPA for the FTA. And our president, he will go down in history now that he signed the most FTA or the free trade agreement during his term. So malaking opportunity rin yun para sa ating mga negosyantes because then we can now do trade with those countries on a more how do we say that we can compete already?
Access, yeah.
Because
it
sometimes
gives us access to a great market. When you look at the UAE is the Philippines' 18th largest trading partner. It accounts for 40% of Philippine exports to the Middle East. From a strategic point of view, Secretary Roque, what can the UAE give the Philippines, especially now?
Okay. The UAE can export to us petrochemicals. Actually, that is the main product of the UAE. But they also have machineries. They also have the fruits and nuts. But actually, for us, the big deal is really for our goods to be exported there. Especially now that we get the preferential tariff, meaning zero tariff instantaneously. Right when we signed the CEPA, the tariff is already 0%. So a lot of our goods now can be brought in with a preferential tariff. And not just that.
In terms of impact, Secretary Roque, how much do you expect that to jump, given this trade agreement?
We really expect it to really go up. We still don't have the numbers, but once we get it, we will inform you. Another win for the UAE CEPA is also the services, because now we just send our people to the Middle East, like our architects, our engineers, and other people. But now, companies can already open in the Middle East. So, importante din for us yun. Kasi we want to set up already companies actually in the Middle East.
Yeah, very interesting. And then on another front, the CEPA is meant not just to increase trade, it's also there to increase investments. Do you expect this to translate to more UAE investments into the Philippines? Ang yaman-yaman nila.
Correct.
So much that they can do here.
Yes, actually, we met with the big ones. I've been meeting actually even before the CEPA was signed, no? But there were big ones that we've actually met with the president during the CEPA signing. Number one was ADNOC, which is an oil petroleum company, which is very huge. So we're actually continuously meeting with them to establish some oil hubs here in the Philippines. We're hoping to establish other things that we can do with them. So they're actually coordinating now with DOE Secretary. And then we also have the DAMAC, which is the data centers. They want to establish really huge data centers here in the Philippines. So that's also good for us, because then that will provide jobs. And that will also bring in a lot of investors to the country, because they need data centers. Importante ngayon in the world ang data centers. And of course, MASDAR, which is the renewable energy. We need renewable energy. We need to bring down the cost of manufacturing so that we can really compete especially in the goods that are being sold globally.
Yeah, in order to get
Yes,
that
yeah.
manufacturing
We need to put
base,
down
we need to
the
lower
cost, the
electricity
power,
prices.
yeah.
There are a lot of things on the downside, but there are a lot of things on the upside also to look forward to. One of them is our ASEAN chairmanship in 2026.
Yes, yeah.
From a trade and investment standpoint, what can we expect from the Philippines hosting this mega event this year?
Okay, yeah. First, of course, it is our honor to be hosting now the ASEAN 2026. And with the 500 meetings, 200 of that is trade. So this is really our time to really work closely with the trade ministers, with the deputy ministers, and also with the heads of state to really show what we can offer the country. Because actually, I have a very close relationship with the trade minister in all over ASEAN. And we are really excited for this. No? And they have a lot of businessmen that want to sell to the Philippines. And we, the same thing to them. And malaking opportunity sa atin because for them, ang malaking attraction is our huge population. So we are almost 120 million Filipinos, and that in itself is attractive for the foreign investors. So yun, maganda yung magiging meetings natin in
we're
we start
excited
in
for
March.
that. Yeah, okay.
Actually, the trade ministers are coming in March already, and we've set a lot of meetings with big businessmen all the way to the medium and small enterprises para mas maging dynamic and mas maging aggressive. So we don't only concentrate on one type or one industry, but we try to really get to a lot of industries.
Yeah.
Kasi they also want to bring in some of their small and medium enterprises here. At the same time, we also want to open up our businesses also in their country.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conduit, that chairmanship.
Mm.
Okay, on another front, let's talk about the IPO push. The DTI and the Philippine Stock Exchange recently inked a partnership to guide large enterprises towards IPO listings. So you're encouraging firms, especially retailers, to go for IPOs. Why push companies to go public now when markets are less confident and growth is fragile? What are your thoughts on this?
Actually, that's a good question. No? But there are a lot of medium enterprises and large enterprises that actually want to grow. So we need to also, being the Department of Trade and Industry, we also need to tell them what are the opportunities or what are the different ways for them to grow. Most of them need funding. So it's either they go for loans, they go for IPO, or they go for private equity. So at least the DTI is able to share to them what are the different avenues that they can use. So
sometimes it's just about education.
Yes, it's just
also
education. So and these are the companies that really can grow leaps and bounds. Kasi how come the big corporations go to get listed in the stock exchange? So there must be a reason why they do it. So we want to educate these people to actually tell them, okay, these are the advantages of going IPO, of using private or going for the private equity or from loaning from the bank. At least alam nila, para alam nila kung ano yung best for them. So yun ang gusto
natin. It starts with awareness of the options that are
correct.
Available that they can tap, and we really want them to grow their businesses.
Exactly, because when they're the ones who have the opportunity to grow leaps and bounds, and they can employ people also instantaneously. The main mandate also of our president is to provide jobs. So how do we provide jobs? By using the existing businesses that are already here in the Philippines that have the strong potential to grow. So yun yung dapat ibigay natin sa kanila, paano mag-grow, yung oportunidad na yun.
That's where our GDP growth is going to come from the growth of everybody. Okay, now, the DTI, no price increases on 91% of basic goods. This goes to your core of consumer protection and fair trade. 35 companies deferring price increases despite higher costs. That's 186 out of 205 SKUs. This is a win for consumers, but until when can we do this?
For now, no. Actually, last year, we had the whole year of no price increase for basic necessities and prime commodities, the whole year. So we have a really good working relationship. And also, these manufacturing companies or these companies really also know the needs of the consumer. So it's a win-win because they have numerous products anyway. So sometimes it's just one or two products that they need to just keep the cost low, keep the selling price or the SRP low. So they're able to to play also. And aside from that, we also give them other opportunities. Let's say I link them for export. I give them more opportunities to sell elsewhere.
There are other avenues. When one door
yes,
closes, there are other
where the
doors.
DTI can help them to how should I say that, so that it's win-win for both of us. So they
Para
keep the
ma-offset.
prices. Yes, ma-offset ang ano.
Okay. Of course, all of this happens amidst a very noisy political backdrop. There are impeachment complaints being filed, left and right. What does the DTI have to do now to kind of, quiet the political noise and to really just keep growth in check?
For us, of course, we know that there's a political noise, but we just move forward. Kung ano yung utos ni Presidente, dun lang talaga kami. So, diretso lang. The President said, continue to encourage foreign investment, continue to take care of the businesses that are here in the Philippines, make sure that they expand, make sure that they grow, make sure that they're well taken care of. So, we follow that very seriously. Yung mandate ng Presidente sa atin to provide jobs, okay, give opportunities to MSMEs, keep the prices down. So, yun talagang ginagawa namin. I mean, with all of these things, we just set them aside and we just focus on what the President wants us to do.
We are leaning very heavily on our economic team and you guys as our economic managers. Okay, let's do a quick fire trade edition, Chris. Okay, what Philippine export would surprise most Filipinos if they knew how big it was?
Coconut.
Coconut.
And the agriculture products. Actually, those are ace products. Alam mo, you will be surprised how huge coconut is now.
Oo, globally.
Ang laki ng potential globally. So, coconut is the ace product
Go nuts
now.
for coconuts. Okay, a local product that should already be a global brand. What are your thoughts?
Actually, madami. There's a lot of retail brands. Of course, I'm from the retail industry, but madaming retail brands that are pwede na talaga globally. And we also have a lot of let's say exports, let's say semiconductors. We also have the creative industry that could be a driver also for us for trade and tourism.
I was at a discussion and people were saying that ube could be the next matcha.
Could be the next also.
Could be the next matcha globally, right?
Yeah.
From green to purple naman ang mga drinks ng
madami
tao.
actually. Madami tayong products that are just really waiting to
Okay, another under the radar. What country do you think the Philippines undertrades with today? That we could trade with more.
Yes, madami. We have so much that we can really offer.
Okay, what's the country that you think the Philippines undertrades with today? What's a country that we can
of course,
trade more
UAE,
with?
we can still trade with actually South America. Madami pang potential because now there's a deep sea port there that they just opened actually last year. You don't have to pass through the US anymore. It's straight already. Then it saves 10 to 12 days. And it can accept now a lot of goods. So hindi ka na magbabayad ng tariff on the way there. So it's and the potential and the market there is very big. And soon we will be signing the Chile FTA. So that will really make our goods very competitive.
Okay, what are the
also.
timelines for the Chile FTA?
We should be signing that this year. We also have the EU FTA, which is magandang game changer din yun once we sign the EU FTA.
You sound very excited
about
about
our
these
Philippine
FTAs,
products will have the strength now in the European market. Malaki yung European market, malaki rin yung South America market.
Malaking potential for the country. Okay, a lot of things to look forward to. We've got 2.5 years left before this administration is done, and a lot of FTAs more in the pipeline. Okay, one sector you're quietly optimistic about over the next 5 years, even beyond this administration.
Of course, the usual, the renewable energy, the digital AI. I mean, we really must go to that direction. That's already the future. But of course, since I'm from the retail industry, there's a lot of potential in retail. There's so much growth na pwede talaga sa retail because of our growing population. So, maboost lang yung retail. That's for the MSME sector. For the they should explore the retail and the e-commerce business. Malaki rin ang e-commerce for the MSME sector. But for the large, of course, it's the renewable energy, the electric vehicles, and then, of course, our semiconductors are still making it big for exports. And, of course, coconut.
Okay. Now we want to lean into your experience as the founder of a beloved clothing brand, Camiseta. You established this in 1990 with 6,000 pesos. Chris, Secretary Roque, what's one business instinct that you got from those days that you still rely on at the DTI?
For me, if you have a dream, go for it. There's nothing to lose and everything to gain. So that's what I always tell the MSME. Never look at the hindrance as a stumbling block, but it should be as a goal to really pursue. I mean, we can't just give up. We need to really, we can't take no for an answer. Dapat diretso lang.
Yeah.
Talagang move forward lang. And if you concentrate and if your product is, you want to achieve excellence, you really get somewhere.
Yeah, that's apt in this economic climate as well. Okay, and one habit you had to unlearn when you entered government.
What did I have to unlearn? Actually, wala naman talaga. It was really, I really liked the transition from private also to, I'm able to bring in something from private, and I learned a lot also from government. So I think it's really a good synergy. The government employees, that I work with are very, very good. They're very excellent. They know their work, and they really have a lot of to offer. So we're really actually in good hands.
Yeah, and 2.5 years left by the end of this administration. What do you want people to say about the DTI and the work that this administration has put forward in that regard?
For the DTI, what we want is to really make sure that there's growth for the extra large businesses and also growth for the small and medium enterprises. We just want to grow because actually ang focus talaga namin is trade and income and trade. So dapat dun talaga kami nakafocus. So we need to provide jobs. We need to at least see growth, whether small or big. Of course, big sana, di ba? Pero kung small, okay na rin yun. Basta we move forward lang.
All right. Thank you so much, DTI Secretary Chris
Thank
Roque.
you. Thank you.
We're going to be taking a quick break. More business news and the context behind it when we return. This is Business 360. Here's a quick look on how global markets moved overnight. Wall Street's major indexes rose for a second straight session on Thursday as investors bought back into stocks after U.S. President Donald Trump dialed back tariff threats against European allies. New data also showed the U.S. economy remains resilient, adding to positive sentiment. The move followed the S&P 500's biggest one-day gain in 2 months on Wednesday. That rebound came after Trump reversed course on tariff linked to a dispute over Greenland and said a deal with Denmark was near. Markets responded quickly, although the two-day rally has not fully recovered losses seen earlier in the week.
All else being equal, the markets, like not going to war with allies. The markets like deals rather than animosity, and a backdrop of decent economic data, which includes the GDP growth figure, which also includes, I think, importantly, inflation data that was not, overly hot. This is all, again, teeing up stuff for next week that markets, seem satisfied with and comfortable with. And importantly, again, is for all the volatility we've had over 3 days, we're basically even money from where we were last Friday.
European shares also closed higher on Thursday after Trump softened his tone on Greenland, while optimism over a potential Ukraine peace deal further lifted investor confidence. French bank Société Générale plans to cut 1,800 jobs in France by the end of 2027 as part of a broader restructuring program. The bank says that the job reductions will come through a natural attrition and internal mobility with no forced layoffs. It adds that its branch network will not be affected. The cuts will hit several core functions at headquarters and regional retail banking operations following staff reductions already announced in 2024. Employee representatives are expected to approve the plan at a special plenary meeting in April, despite union criticism over what they say are limited support measures for affected workers. Now, for business, this move highlights how European banks are continuing to cut costs, streamline operations, and adjust to slower growth, digitalization, and tighter profit margins. Now let's check on how Asian markets are doing this morning. Right now, pull that up right here. The Nikkei 225, I'm seeing a sea of green. The Nikkei 225 is trading to the upside, up by 0.4%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index up by as much, up by 0.4%. Shanghai's Composite higher by 0.2%. And Singapore's Straits Times Index higher by a full 1%. Here at home, taking a look at our market as of 10:36, the PSE index is going in the opposite direction. We're down by 0.3% to 63.78. The all shares index is in the red as well, down by 0.1% to 36.16. Taking a look at the sub indices, all are trading to the downside, except for the mining and oil counter, up by a stark, up by 3%, limiting the decline in the PSE index. Now, total volume traded is at 205 million shares, valued at 1.69 billion pesos. Market breadth is positive. However, we've got 79 advancers against 64 decliners, while 52 stocks are unchanged. Taking a look at the currency front, the peso opened at 59.03 against the dollar, up from its previous close of 59.16. Now, corporate governance is set for a reset as the Securities and Exchange Commission moves to tighten rules for board directors starting 2026. Under the proposed changes, independent directors would serve fixed 3-year terms with a strict 9-year maximum tenure. The regulator says the move is designed to strengthen board independence, improve oversight of management, and prevent directors from becoming too close to the company's leadership. For listed firms and large corporations, this means earlier succession planning, more disciplined board refreshment, and greater scrutiny of governance practices. For investors, the change is meant to improve transparency, reduce conflicts of interest, and align Philippine corporate governance more closely with global standards. Now, SP New Energy Corporation surged 15% on the stock market after announcing a corporate name change to MGen Renewable Energy Holdings, signaling a reset that investors clearly welcomed. Shares hit an intraday high of 1 peso and 39 centavos before closing at 1 peso and 30 pesos each. About 147.65 million shares changed hands, worth 189.68 million pesos. The rebranding is seen as a clean break from former majority shareholder Representative Leandro Leviste and his Solar Philippines Group, which faced delays and setbacks in delivering promised solar projects. Investors responded positively to the clear separation from past controversies and a sharper strategic focus under the leadership of Manny Pangilinan. For the market, the move underscores how governance and clarity and credible execution can quickly reset investor sentiment, especially in the renewable energy sector. Now, digital payments in the Philippines surged in 2025 as InstaPay and PesoNet transactions reached a combined 24.75 trillion pesos. Data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas shows the total value jumped from 42% from 2024, while transaction volume more than tripled to 4.78 billion transactions. InstaPay led the growth with transaction value up 57% to 11.55 trillion pesos and volume rising to 4.66 billion transactions. For business, the figures confirm that digital payments are now mainstream, reducing cash dependence, lowering transaction costs, and speeding up commerce for both consumers and firms. The trend also strengthens the case for more digital finance, faster settlements, and broader fintech adoption across the entire economy. Now, the Philippine Stock Exchange cracks down on Abra Mining amid long-running legal troubles. The Biloy-led company faces sanctions for violating listing and disclosure rules, including potential daily fines until compliance is met. Sanctions occur amid mounting legal pressure as the Department of Justice has indicted Abra Mining and its top officers for unauthorized and fraudulent trading of shares dating back to 1995. The Securities and Exchange Commission previously filed a criminal complaint over unregistered shares offered to the public through the Philippine Depository and Trust Corporation. Investors are turning cautiously optimistic as the Philippine stock market shows early signs of life after weeks of volatility and uncertainty. On Bilyonaryo News Channel's Business Brief, investment coach Julian Tarobago Jr. upgraded his market outlook from 2 to 3, signaling a shift from defensive to a more balanced and constructive view.
What improved is the potential for infrastructure spending to accelerate. It was mentioned 200 billion pesos. Actually, if that's actually disbursed in the first quarter of this year, That's, and please correct me if my math is wrong, that's about half a point on GDP growth already. And that's 50 basis points on GDP growth. And the possibility that if compliance costs drop, if the BIR digitization program actually works, that's probably another half point on earnings growth. So from an economic growth standpoint and from a corporate growth standpoint, those are the benefits.
Tarobago says market sentiment over the next 3 months will depend heavily on whether stalled government projects begin to move again. He adds that a resumption of public spending could help lift business confidence, unlock capital expenditures, and improve investor appetite. For markets, the message is clear. Policy execution and project rollouts, not just data, will shape whether this recovery gains traction. Now we're taking a short break. More stories coming up. Business 360 will be right back. The Philippines, as ASEAN chair, says it will continue engaging Myanmar but stops short of backing the junta's proposed election. ASEAN Special Envoy Maria Teresa Lazaro says Manila is open to the outcome of the vote but does not endorse it, even as official results show most seats going to a military-aligned party after 2 rounds of voting. Lazaro says de-escalation, humanitarian aid delivery, and political dialogue were discussed at a stakeholders meeting held in the Philippines, which included rebel groups and Myanmar's shadow government. She says ASEAN hopes to expand engagement with more groups as fighting continues on the ground and the regional peace plan shows limited progress. For the region and for business, this keeps the Philippines at the center of diplomatic efforts on Myanmar, even as prolonged political uncertainty continues to pose risks to regional stability, supply chains, and investor confidence. On another front, Marineland in Canada is seeking buyers in the United States for its captive beluga whales after a proposed export to China was blocked by authorities. The park, now closed to visitors and planning to sell its land, says it's running out of resources. Management has previously warned that it may be forced to euthanize the whales if no sale or transfer is approved. Canada's Fisheries Ministry confirms new export permit applications are under review. A former trainer says that the belugas could be sold to multiple marine parks in the United States. The case highlights the business risks facing animal-based attractions as regulatory scrutiny, ethical standards, and public pressure continue to rise. For operators and investors, this underscores how quickly regulatory decisions and reputational issues can turn assets into liabilities. Now, the United States finalizes its withdrawal from the World Health Organization 1 year after President Donald Trump announced the move. The Trump administration cites the WHO's handling of COVID-19 and alleged political influence, even as the U.S. still owes more than $130 million in unpaid dues. Public health expert Lawrence Gostin of Georgetown University warns the exit could weaken global disease surveillance and limit access to critical health data. U.S. officials say they will share health information through direct country-to-country channels, but experts say these arrangements cannot match the scale and speed of the WHO's global network. For business, this adds risk around pandemic preparedness, cross-border travel, supply chains, and workforce health at a time when global trade and mobility remain tightly linked. Still in the U.S. President Donald Trump files a $5 billion lawsuit against JPMorgan Chase and CEO Jamie Dimon, accusing the bank of debanking him for political reasons. JPMorgan denies the claim, saying it does not close accounts based on political or religious views and calls the lawsuit without merit. Trump alleges the bank violated its own policies, damaged his reputation, and forced him to seek alternative banking services. The case puts a spotlight on banking access, compliance rules, and the boundaries between risk management and political exposure, with potential implications for corporate accounts, fintechs, and how banks assess client risk in a highly polarized environment. Now, Donald Trump unveils a new board of peace at Davos, pitching it as a fresh platform for global diplomacy, even as U.S. allies express skepticism. The initiative is framed as a body to oversee a Gaza ceasefire and potentially take on roles traditionally handled by the United Nations. But several Key countries, including France, Norway, and Sweden, have declined to take part. Trump says 59 nations have signed on, pointing to 19 representatives present at Davos, and signals possible coordination with Russia on humanitarian funding efforts. Talks also continue with Ukraine and Russia as Trump positions the board as part of a broader push to stabilize conflict zones. Now, for business and markets, the move adds another layer of uncertainty to global governance, raising questions about diplomatic coordination, sanctions, aid flows, and how geopolitical risk is managed outside traditional multilateral institutions. On another front, Denmark and Greenland push to back against U.S. President Donald Trump's claims of total access to Greenland, saying the island's sovereignty is non-negotiable. Trump says he agrees with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on a framework for future Arctic security cooperation, including the possible deployment of part of his proposed Golden Dome missile defense system in Greenland. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and Greenlandic Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen stressed that any security arrangements must fully respect territorial integrity, calling sovereignty a clear red line. NATO confirms no compromises to Greenland's sovereignty are on the table, adding that talks among the U.S., Denmark, and Greenland are continuing to strengthen Arctic security amid rising strategic competition with Russia and China. For business, the developments highlight growing geopolitical tensions in the Arctic, a region increasingly important for shipping routes, energy, and critical minerals, and a reminder that security politics can quickly shape investment and trade risks. We're taking a quick break. Keep it here on Business 360. Welcome back. You're watching Business 360. Battlefield 6 emerges as the top-selling video game in the United States in 2025, making it the most lucrative title of the year. Data firm Circana says that the game sold 7 million copies in its first 3 days, outpacing Call of Duty, Black Ops 7, and driving strong multiplayer engagement across large-scale maps. Other bestsellers include Borderlands 4 and NBA 2K26, while console sales rose 9%, with Nintendo Switch 2 selling 4.4 million units in the United States. Total U.S. video game sales hit $60.6 billion in 2025, powered by digital content, live services, and in-game purchases. The numbers highlight the shift toward always-on digital revenue models, strong intellectual property, and gaming as a major growth engine across media, tech, and consumer spending. On another front, a fashion moment at Davos turns into a market move. A pair of sunglasses worn by French President Emmanuel Macron sends an Italian eyewear stock surging. Macron's aviator sunglasses, dubbed his Top Gun look, go viral at the World Economic Forum, spreading quickly across social media and global news. Shares of iVision Tech, owner of the Henry Julien brand, jumped nearly 28%, adding more than $4 million to the company's market value in a single day. CEO Stefano Fulcier describes the move as a wow effect, as memes and global attention drive sudden investor interest. For business, it's a real-time case study in how brand visibility, celebrity signals, and social media virality can rapidly translate into stock price action, especially in consumer and luxury names. Now, the Oscars race is taking shape, and one film is clearly leading the pack. Sinners emerges as a major contender this year, topping the field with 16 nominations, including a historic nod in cinematography. Autumn Durrell Arkapaw makes history as the first woman of color nominated for Best Cinematography and only the fourth woman ever in the category. The Filipino-American cinematographer shot the film using IMAX 65mm and Ultra Panavision formats. Director Ryan Coogler and actor Michael B. Jordan also secure major nominations. The film is recognized across multiple technical and creative categories, cementing its strong showing at the Academy Awards. The film's success underscores the commercial power of premium formats, diverse creative leadership, and global storytelling as studios bet big on high-impact content that drives both box office and streaming revenue. And that's it for Business 360. I'm Maiki Oreta. Thank you for joining us, and keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel, and have a great weekend.